or see me?
I can. I can both hear and see you. How's it going?
Okay, good.
You won't be able to see me.
Decent.
If you have really good internet,
That's fine.
you could watch it on twitch.tv/TheSerfsTV.
I do have really good internet.
Oh, nice. And you can
Yeah.
read chat at the same time.
I'm like the biggest part of the screen. I'm so important right now.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna be
Hello.
totally honest. I'm fanboying out a little bit here. I've watched your shit for years. I find it absolutely hilarious.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And I was astounded to find out you were from Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the better spots in Canada, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Could I ask first and foremost, what got you into this? Like, what turned you into the internet's best, I don't know, dry, sarcastic movie reviewer?
Well, I don't know. I've always kind of been interested in just creating entertainment, expressing myself. I started out doing music, had to put my music on the side burner for a while. Figured that the best way to grow an audience would be to, do movie review stuff. Not just as like a sort of like strategic business thing, but also because, I'm opinionated on movies, and I had always made my own little kind of like home movie things with my friends for a while, and so I was self-taught with like editing software, and it was around the time when red letter media started becoming a thing, where it was kind of an epiphany that I was like, oh, I could talk over a movie, show the clips, illustrate my points that way, and that would be something that I could, that I feel I would be actually good at. I tried doing a review a while before that on my vlog channel. It's still up. It was like the sunshine review or something. It's
Mhm.
like me talking into a camera, but the format was not what really worked for me. I felt I was much I felt it was a lot easier to communicate my opinions and also create something entertaining if I had something that I could like edit down and show things for.
Are you wearing a house shirt?
Yes.
That's fucking dope.
Host.
That's fucking
Yeah.
awesome. Um,
From the Criterion website, they sell them.
nice. So obviously your biggest inspiration at the time was Red Letter Media. Was there any others? Or
Yeah, and if you like go back and sort my videos by like oldest, my first review is basically just like a rip off of their format.
Mhm.
And I was self-aware about it. I admitted it in the review. But it was kind of just a jumping off point for me to be able to like develop my own style and try things out as I went along and figure out what I was doing with trial and error, basically.
Was it the Star Wars reviews they did that got you into?
I don't know if they had done the Star Wars review yet. I
Mhm.
was definitely watching their Star Trek reviews.
Mhm.
I don't remember what the timeline was. I'm pretty sure they did Star Trek ones before Star Wars, and that would have been the Star Trek ones would have been the points where I was like paying attention, I guess. And
Yeah. When did you first blow up? Like, what was your first really big YouTube video?
um, well, the first one that I guess I was around a few thousand subs, maybe somewhere between like 3 and 20,000. I don't remember exactly, but um, my cyberbully review got posted to Reddit, and that
Mhm.
took off really well. And at that point, I realized just how good of like a promotional kind of like marketing thing Reddit was. And I actually wound up the second time one of my videos really blew up on Reddit. And I was able to use that as a jumping off point to like launch my Patreon, which was a very new website at the time. I was like one of the first people to actually use Patreon and quit my job, which is why they gave me this cool fucking thing back here.
Well, that's
They
where that
shipped
comes from.
this thing to my house. Um, the the second time one of my reviews really blew up was the Megan is Missing review, and that was one that I had made. It was received really well, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna count down to my cake day, and I was like working at Best Buy at the time, and so before work, I made the post with like a title like reviewing the cringiest movie ever made or something like that. Um, and it was on my cake day, which if you don't use Reddit, it's like you get like a little bit of extra attention one day a year on your Reddit anniversary.
A little
And
crumb.
so I was just like using the computer at Best Buy to, refresh the page. I was like, oh shit, I'm on the top top page of Reddit, and then from that I made like, I don't know, a few $100 in ad rev, and that was enough to just be like, okay, I can survive for like half a month without a job. And then I, made my Patreon campaign, quit my job, and was like, okay, guys, you got to help me out if you want to see me do this. And then the rest is history. I was able to grow my channel even more because, the amount of time I was spending at Best Buy was then converted to time I was spending on the channel. Content was getting out more frequently. So
Awesome. So I noticed at the start of every one of your videos, you have to do this disclaimer because you have had a lot of trouble with copyright strikes.
I don't have to. I mean, technically you don't have to, but I like putting that there just to remind people, and like so that they have no real excuse if they're going to claim the video. It's like, okay, the disclaimer is there, right? Like you should understand how fair use works, and yet I don't even think it's necessarily an issue of them not understanding how it works. I think they just abuse the system because YouTube allows them to. The system is set in place where they can abuse it, and so obviously by human nature, if you give people that kind of power, they'll do it.
So it was a problem, I guess, of like all the power going to huge companies like Sony and Warner Brothers.
Yeah, a lot. The worst ones are like rights management companies, where basically they'll be acting as like kind of like a way to take away the responsibility from the actual studio themselves. So there's companies like Egeda and like I forget the name of the other one, but they're like notorious. Basically, the studios will hire them to manage their content online, and they don't give a shit. They really don't give a shit. They'll just push everything to like takedown notice, and they're really frustrating. Thankfully enough, at this point, for the most part, if your content is fair use, you can still win the claim by the end of it. It might take up to 3 months. When I started on YouTube, if a company copyright claimed one of my videos, there was literally no way I could even dispute it. It was just gone. So you had to like email the actual studio and try to convince them to remove the claim, basically, which was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Um,
what was the worst one you ever
sorry.
got?
With one of the what? Well, I don't know. There's a lot of I don't know if I could rank them. There's a lot of bad. There was one where I reviewed Sharknado 1 and 2, and
it's always Sharknado.
It was so this, I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's from a company called The Asylum, right?
Yep.
And Sharknado was one of the first films that they had made, which was technically an original property and was successful. Their entire company was built off of making rip-off films that they've gone to court over many times, and in some cases they've had to make changes or settle or lost. Like very clearly shady. Obviously, they're trying to trick people into thinking that their property is the more successful one. So they'll look at which Pixar movies are in development, which big Hollywood budget movies are in development, ones that take like several years to make. They'll make one really, really quickly. They'll call it Transmorphers, and then put it on the DVD shelves. And some confused grandma trying to buy a Christmas gift for her grandson is going to pick that up. And that's how they made their money. And they had never lost any revenue on a single film. They took it to an extreme degree where I found their information. Like, sure, these channels exist on YouTube where you can fight your claim there, but what I wound up doing, because sometimes this helped back in the day, I don't do this as often anymore, but I would find the actual contact information for the studio, either email them or call them. They had a number that was publicly available, so I called them, and the receptionist started arguing with me. She's like, "No, because that's our footage, so you don't own it." I'm like, "What the?" It was the weirdest thing I'd ever experienced. It was the receptionist. I'm like, "You're not the content manager," and she was literally just like going off on this insane rant, yelling at me. And I recorded the whole thing, but I didn't release it because I just like, I don't know. I'm not kind of like a drama oriented person, and not everything needs to blow up.
Yeah.
Eventually they released the claim when I got a hold of their actual content manager. But yeah, it was absolutely insane and hypocritical for a company that literally exists because they rip off other movies.
Yeah.
And they're trying to claim ownership over my fair use review of their film.
Is it not? Do they not fall under parody law? Is that what they're trying to do, or they don't claim to even be satirical?
Well, I'm not trying to make the argument that their entire film catalog shouldn't exist legally.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of a gray area. It can be considered parody, but there's several factors that are need to be determined um, in order to determine fair use.
Mm-hmm.
So the nature of the work, why does it exist, right? Whether or not you're monetizing it. No single one of these factors is completely determinable. You can't just say like, oh, because you're making money off of it, it's automatically not fair use.
Mm-hmm.
But due to the nature of their works, I would say there's a strong argument that it's not. It really it depends on the film. It depends how much they borrow from it, because they literally exist to trick people. It's not like one of those epic movie, date movie, disaster movie, Friedberg Seltzer things.
Yeah.
It's not where it's like we're making fun of it by referencing things. They're actively trying to compete in the market and take away from the revenue that the original is trying to produce. So
By
that's
exploiting
that would be
consumers,
it.
basically.
Yeah, yeah. It really depends on the film, and yeah, it's technically not copyright infringement, but they in some cases I would say that it's reasonable that they would need to like change the title or the poster of their film
Hmm.
when it's like obviously way too similar and they're just literally trying to rip people off. So
So I was gonna say, I think that like everyone who's got a career like yours, you've been doing this for a while. You kind of start to, I don't know, form maybe like a villain archetype or something like that. And for yours, it seems to be M. Night Shyamalan. Like I don't know
in a way,
I don't know how that came out,
yeah,
but
he's a recurring character.
and those have to be my favorite of all your reviews, especially because they compounded over time, right? Like eventually, it feels like they broke you. Like there was only so much you could take.
It was definitely a downward spiral sort of event. It was definitely not. I don't know. You could argue that Split or whatever was like a bit of a redemption, but my argument would be that he wrote that back when he was making good movies.
Oh, is
So
that true? I didn't know that.
no, yeah, he had the script since like just after Unbreakable or something,
Mhm.
and then finally turned it into a movie. It's like, oh wait, he's good again, and it's like, oh wait, no, he's not. And then Glass comes out, and The Visit is also terrible.
Yeah, but that was the one that everyone was saying was such a good movie. I had friends who I respect telling me like you have to go watch The Visit. Like he's tour de force. He's back.
I think it's a mixture of like low expectations and like I don't know. People are really, really easily scared by formulated jump scares, and
Mhm.
like there's really basic things you can do to manipulate an audience into feeling scared, and it works with a lot of people. And then B, really depending on the sense of humor you have, you might find the cringe rapping by the kid funny, but I just found it cringe. So
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and then I never saw The Last Airbender, but was that pretty much like was that the peak for you? Was that as bad as he gets?
um, well, honestly, I don't know. I think I rated Glass the lowest out of all of them. Um, without spoiling anything, the conclusion of events is like the most unceremonious ending you could possibly write for these characters that makes it seem like M. Night didn't even care about these characters to begin with.
Mhm.
I mean, I reviewed it, anybody can watch it, but that would, I rated that one the lowest. It might be my least favorite. There's both Glass and The Visit are so far off the deep end that I can't watch them for humor.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know when the next time I'm gonna watch Glass is gonna be, if ever again. The
Mhm.
Visit I watched again because I made like a longer review of it. But yeah, anything like the Last Airbender and After Earth, I think are hilarious movies. Like I have them on Blu-ray, so I'll watch them anytime.
The Criterion Collection.
They're really funny.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
yeah.
yeah.
That's the worst part about M. Night's filmography is he's never going to get a box set.
It's
No
true.
one no one who wants to watch The Sixth Sense is also going to want to watch The Last Airbender. They're two different demographics now. So we're never gonna see a complete collection Blu-ray.
Oh, I guess
It'd be
that's true.
nice, but I
Um,
would buy it.
I mean, like your reviews, they're pretty brutal. Not the ones the YMS ones, but I just mean like your numbered scale. Like there's films that like I'm usually in sync with you in terms of like your best films of the year, and actually you're like your 2019 or 2018 lists or whatever. I don't know if 2019's out already, but like your
No,
year, yeah, I was like you're on
I
2015 or
gotta
something.
catch up on a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those compilations are usually like the back catalog that I go through to find like good movies of the year, and I usually sync up with you. But then every now and then I'll
Good.
watch one where it's like, and I'm rating this one a 5 out of 10. I'm like, whoa, that is brutal. Like, did you get a lot of flack for that? At how?
Yeah, I do, of course, all the time.
Yeah.
That's like when like it's when the majority of hate comes my way is when I dislike or think something is average that people love. My
Mhm.
most disliked video of all time is my Detective Pikachu review. Of all things, my
Actually,
Detective Pikachu review. Yeah, like that one set people off somehow. I don't understand what happened there. I could like I sometimes I have no idea which ones are going to make people really mad.
mhm.
My Mission Impossible review, like the newest one, that made people really mad, and I didn't even hate the movie. I just thought it was like average. I thought half of the movie was really great and half the movie was really boring.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like it depends on who you are as a person, your tastes, how you review things. There's a lot of people that think that a numbered scale, like anything below an 8 is bad, which I completely disagree with.
Oh, totally. I agree with
Um,
you.
there's several movies that I rate 5 out of 10 that I enjoy watching and that,
Mhm.
I bought and I'll watch again, but like there's elements to it that I would just consider not that great
Yeah.
sort of thing.
What about with horror movies? Because like you know a lot about horror movies, right? But like all the modern ones that everyone's like so wild over. I mean, you seem to be the only person who actually like when I saw that latest one, the one about the silence. I forget John Krasinski's movie. That
Oh, A Quiet Place.
yeah, I walked out of that just like completely dumbfounded that it was so highly recommended to me. And then I was really happy to see someone like you actually be like, yeah, like all there's so many holes in this. Like, why does no one else get this?
Yeah, and I mean, like, I wouldn't even say the biggest problem with the film are like necessarily the plot holes.
Hmm.
And I made like a response video because that first one got a lot of backlash, and I got like a couple things wrong about it.
Hmm.
Um, but the biggest reason to me why I'm not able to take the film seriously is that the characters and the logic of the film, like everything that a film should care about, like the dynamic and how these people are written,
Hmm.
it was secondary towards the gimmick of the film. The entire movie, every single scene is literally just set up to be like, ooh, here's a scenario where they might not be able to keep quiet and these things will be there and something will happen where they'll be unable to keep quiet. It's like that nail flew through the floorboard. It's like, what was that? Like there's so many things about it that are so stupid. Like you don't sink in grain. You don't unless there's like a flow coming from another end, and
Hmm.
people were arguing with me about that too. It's so insane. They're like, actually, you're taught when you work in grain silo production factories, that's the
You had
way because you actually it's
actual
true.
grain
And I
silo
actually,
farmers.
in my response video, I actually had to like dig up footage. I'm like, yeah, only if it's flowing. Like it literally, that's not how it works. But anyway, um, yeah, I wish that the conveniences were not the main priority of the film.
Hmm.
It felt fake. It felt artificial. It felt manipulative, and that was my biggest issue. Nothing about it felt natural. It was literally just like, oh, this kid that survived here for so long somehow doesn't know that he's not supposed to make noise. Like he wants to play with this fire truck and put the batteries in and go wee woo wee woo. He doesn't even like you'd think in that environment, if they've survived for so long, he would be like, oops, it made noise, or like I made a mistake, but he doesn't even seem to get it. Like I don't know how he survived that long for that to even happen. But yeah, I just yeah, there's elements about it that are well done for sure. It looks nice. It's
It
well
does.
shot.
It
It's not
does.
most of the performances are not terrible.
Hmm.
The creature design is cool, and
Hmm.
I wish that I could appreciate those elements without being distracted by just how manipulative the rest of the movie is. I want those elements in a movie that actually cares about how it's structured and cares about why things happen, not just it getting there no matter what. That's my issue.
Do you ever get the criticism that, like, as a film critic, like, why don't you make films, or why don't you, like, I know you're like, you make, I don't know if you make feature films, but you do make like short films, right?
Um, well, the right now I'm I'm directing. I'm working on some music videos
Cool.
for my album that I'm making. I do music, and I'm like I'm about to release my first like feature length album uh, in a couple months. Hopefully, I'm just still waiting on the most recent master back, figuring out album artwork, and so I'm using that as kind of a jumping off point to try and like you know, the elements towards filmmaking that are the most foreign to me, especially in like a professional setting, would be the technical elements. And a lot of that comes with, when if you're working like with a big crew and you're on like a professional project, there's a lot of other people to help you out. There's
Hmm.
like, the DP has worked on other movies. The sound guy, you could just trust him to do his own thing. If you're making films like super independent and you want a lot of control over everything, or you don't have a lot of money, right? You don't have a lot of resources, then it's going to be a different situation. And the only real way to kind of like prove yourself to get to the point where you can have like actual producers working on board is to have kind of a proof of concept, is to make your own like short films and post them on YouTube sort of thing. And they could be successful or not. But yeah, I'm in the stage right now where I'm like trying to figure out exactly what my approach should be. And I've got ideas for films or perhaps short films. I've got ideas for sure. But right now, my main focus is my album. And also, I guess people are asking me to plug my album. It's An Unkindness, AN space UNKINDNESS. You can find it on Spotify. Um, but keep in mind that the material that is out there right now is literally just a demo CD that I recorded when I was 19, like back in like 2010. So don't expect it to be as high quality or professionally produced as the album I'm making right now. Also, gonna plug one more thing. Blondie covered one of my
I was
tracks
just about to say
on
that. I
their
was
newest
like,
album.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good promotion right there. You know the band Blondie? Everybody should know the band Blondie.
Yeah.
But yeah, they
How did that
covered one
come
of my
about? Did
tracks.
that blow your mind, or what?
Yeah, Chris Stein, one of the founding members of Blondie, watches my YouTube videos, and at the end of my older YouTube videos, um, I used to plug my music a lot. The reason why I stopped is because I reached a point where I was like, okay, that quality of recording doesn't match my current abilities, and so as I said, I put music on the side burner for a while I grew my channel. Um, and yeah, I guess he came across one of those videos, sent me an email, and was like, "Hey, we'd like to cover your track." And then I was like, "Oh, cool!" And expected it to maybe happen, like maybe fall through and just not happen. And then it wound up happening like a year or two later, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And I
That's
got to
awesome.
meet Debbie Harry. I got to watch her perform my song
What?
live, and
That's such
yeah,
a trip. Um, yeah, one of the last things I want to ask you about is we were talking about how some movies are just shitty, but obviously, like, you got a big love for movies that are so shitty they're incredible. And
yes.
you were one of the first ones, I think, who brought Cool Cat Saves the Kids to the
I wasn't one of
zeitgeist.
the first. I was the first.
Oh, the
I was
first.
literally the first.
Okay.
Yeah. No one the only other thing that existed of that was people sharing the trailer. Everything is terrible shared a link on their Facebook page, and that's how I found it. But I was literally the first Cool Cat review. I found something very special
Yeah.
and wanted to share it with the world. So
And then you got involved with him a little bit. Like, aren't you supposed to be in one of his newest movies?
man, there's a whole lore that you need to catch yourself up on, but I don't
Okay.
know how long I could spend talking. There's like 2 hours worth of lore here
I
that
know
like
there's the copyright strike stuff, and you schooled them on what exactly
there's
is
a
fair use.
whole bunch of like crazy drama and hilarious bullshit. So yeah, long story short, uh he blocked me on all of my Twitter accounts because I made a video uh addressing his copyright abuse, and I only made that video because he ignored my two separate emails that were both 10 paragraphs long trying to explain to him what fair use was while he was copyright striking my friends and other people on the platform,
Mhm.
and then him in his own like video being like, "Well, I studied copyright law. I was a lawyer, and that's stealing. That's you're scumbag if you do it." Adam from YMS, he'll back me up. He says I'm a good guy, and he publicly put my name out there in a position where that I don't agree with, and I told him I don't agree with, and it's like, okay, well, I have to put something out there to because you otherwise people think that I'm a hypocrite because my
Yeah.
entire channel is based off of like fair use material. So he basically twisted my arm into doing it, and I was completely respectful and polite the entire time I did it, while still calling him out on his bullshit. But yeah, he did not take kindly to that, and yeah.
So did you get cut from the film? Did you even film it?
Yeah, well, I was supposed to be a cameo appearance in his gun self defense for ladies movie,
That's right.
and on the Indiegogo page, he listed my
Mhm.
inclusion as part of the film, and even in the video for the Indiegogo page. And then after that incident, despite already having raised some money for it, removed that point from the page, re-uploaded the video with the only difference being that that part cut out where he mentioned that I would be in it, and just continued the campaign. Wouldn't be that might have been the first time he lied on Indiegogo, and yeah, he continued doing it from there.
Oh, shameless.
Oh.
I know I said it'd only take a little bit of your time, but I have some audience questions. Do you mind if I ask them?
Oh, sure, yeah, yeah. I've got a bit more time.
Okay,
No
sweet.
rush.
Um, first one is, what's with all the soda cans?
Um, most of it is LaCroix. I don't know if you consider that soda.
It's like a
Um,
sugarless water, right?
it's, I mean, water is already sugarless, but
It's a redundant
uh,
water, isn't it?
yeah, it's like flavored club soda basically, zero sodium, which is weird that you kind of have to say that because a lot of club soda a lot of club soda has a bunch of sodium in it for no reason.
Mm,
But yeah, zero calories, zero sodium, no artificial sweeteners or whatever. It's just a better alternative to water. Keeps me
mhm.
hydrated. Um, some of those are alcohol cans. They exist here because this is where I work, and so while I'm working, and then when there's too many, I clear them out, and then the stack continues growing again.
Only the top tier questions will be asked. Um, ask Adam what his thoughts are on Tommy Wiseau, and was The Room one of the best films ever created?
Tommy Wiseau is definitely a landmark character for the so bad that it's good genre, and it really kind of legitimized a lot of things that we see today and paved the way for things like Cool Cat and Neil Breen. Um, I don't know. I think that I much prefer Neil Breen because Neil Breen didn't allow himself to become influenced by the public perception. Neil Breen has created 5 masterpieces. Tommy Wiseau has created 1, and everything he's tried to create after The Room has been way too attemptedly self-aware, way too leaning towards intentional comedy. And the problem when you're making material that isn't self-aware and when you're missing the mark, and that's the whole gimmick. The problem with that is that it only works when you're making something earnest and serious. The reason why The Room was funny is because it tried to be an earnest and serious movie. But if you go and try to make your sitcom Neighbors or like every other thing that he's tried at this point, where it's like, haha, I'm in on the joke, then it's just not funny. He's an interesting character. He's a funny guy in his cameo appearances, I guess. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, important character, but not my favorite. Neil Breen is God.
Oh God, yeah, he's got to be the funniest one. Um, what's the next one here? Uh, ask Adam about his thoughts on anti-social justice warrior movie reviewers.
Um, well, I think regardless of what side of the political perspective you come from, not just implying that there's only two sides, but
Mhm.
regardless of where you're coming from, I think that the art itself is more important than necessarily the politics involved in the art. And, if someone wants to create a channel that talks about politics and art, that's totally fine. And, they're allowed to have a space on YouTube. But in terms of determining artistic value, I think that conversation is basically irrelevant sometimes. You can, if you can talk about if a movie was altered to kind of fit a kind of political agenda, I guess that could be relevant depending on what kind of angle you want to bring. But I usually try not to be influenced by that sort of thing. Like, I didn't even really know Birds of Prey was supposed to be like a girl power movie until, like, I guess the last like 10 minutes of it. So it didn't really influence my rating.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on Disney making the most $1 billion movies in 2019?
Unsurprising.
Yeah.
I mean, we can complain about it all we want, and I do a lot, but it's really up to the consumer at this point. They can't make the money if people decide not to watch them. I tried to warn people about The Lion King. Nobody listened. And it became the most successful animated movie of all time. It doesn't even call itself animated. Yeah.
So someone just threw this in there. What about Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie? It's like, okay, sure. I'll posit that.
It's a good movie for Tim and Eric fans. It's definitely not something that's accessible, but I don't think it's trying to be. It's kind of like a troll movie in a way. If people are not familiar with Tim and Eric, I would say probably just watch like season 4 of their show. That would be the easiest thing to like get into if you're not like completely on board. Whereas like season 1 or even their film is like would just be annoying to people.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Riff Tracks or Mystery Science Theater 3000?
I don't know if I'd call myself a fan. I appreciate and respect their place in history because they also paved the way for a lot of things we see right now. I haven't watched a lot of them. I've seen like kind of similar knockoff. There's like a thing in Vancouver called the Gentleman Hecklers that plays at the Rio, and those are kind of fun. I think I prefer like the live environment to that sort of thing if I'm gonna watch something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't mind checking it out. I've seen some of it. It's not bad.
Generally, the films reviewed by YMS are done so with an edge of sarcasm and criticism, but can you ask if there's a movie since you started that just left you so speechless with how good it was?
I wouldn't say speechless, because usually if I find a movie really good, I have a lot to say about it. Yeah. If the question is supposed to be, are there reviews of mine where I'm not being sarcastic the entire time, I would say there's plenty. It really, you just have to just go through my top 10 lists. There's plenty of those in there.
What was your inspiration for the Sardonicast?
Well, I wanted to do something that I'm always looking for ways to create new content. But I've got so much on my plate that I'm juggling at once that it's difficult to add new projects that are really time consuming. And I figured a podcast is a way that I could talk about movies more and get content out in a way that wouldn't take up a whole lot of my time. And Ralph the Movie Maker and I Hate Everything, I realized, based on posts on my subreddit, that we'd shared a lot of the same audience, and so contacted them and we decided to do a podcast.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's kind of like a movie club thing. Pick a movie every episode. Somebody recommends one at the end, and then we watch it and then talk about it the next one.
I did have one quick question about something that took place in Vancouver. I don't know if this happens. It probably came from the US, so the American watchers will probably have the same thing. But the hot tub movie experience.
Oh no.
That looked ridiculous. It's from Australia. I was on the waiting list for that.
An event in New York, though. Oh, you were?
Yeah, and I never got in, and I was like, "Oh, damn, we're missing out on this." But it looks so cool, just like you, right? It's on a rooftop supposedly, and we were supposed to watch.
Yeah, the marketing was very misleading.
Oh wow, was it ever? And I had no idea what it was like until I watched your video on it. But what was the aftermath of that like? Because I know that building, it got flooded, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my roommate goes past that building every once in a while, and it's he reported back to me saying like that people were like tearing out the roof of the building below it, of like
Mm.
the unit below it.
Mm.
And then it got turned into like Conservative Party headquarters or something after like a year of like no one being able to
To rent it.
rent or lease it or whatever. So
It's fantastic. I guess yeah. Last thing I want to ask: what's the best film of 2020 so far?
oh man, there's like barely any. It's like
I
February.
know.
Um,
That's the gotcha question.
this is really okay. Well, so I went to Sundance, and I mean, like the best movie I saw there was probably Minari, which is like a Korean American movie with Glenn from The Walking Dead, Stephen Yun.
Okay.
Um, that was probably my favorite movie from Sundance, and those were all like 2020 movies. So, um, it's not a masterpiece. I don't think it'll make my list, sort of thing. But it's really, really good, and there's a lot of really like emotional and well written moments. There's a lot of character. They care about the characters in the film. Um, yeah, haven't seen a whole lot in 2020. Depending on, if you don't go just by IMDb, some people will consider movies that don't get a wide release until 2020 a 2020 movie. And if that's the case, The Climb would be my favorite movie if you're going to consider that a 2020 movie, even though technically it's 2019. The
Climb.
Climb is a really, really fantastic, low budget movie where the director and writer both star in the film. And it's like a really dark comedy. Um, very, very dramatic, but like very funny and very, very well shot and well coordinated. Basically, every scene is like one long, super long take. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in it, and it's just very well put together. And it has a lot of heart and personality.
I haven't watched your review yet, but what were your thoughts on the Sonic movie?
Meh. It was a Sonic movie. It was good for a kids movie, but that's not saying a lot.
Mhm.
It was slightly below average on my scale, I
Mhm.
guess. I gave it a 4. Jim Carrey was pretty annoying.
Yeah, was not expecting that. I'm kind of happy to be done with Ace Ventura, Jim Carrey, to say the least.
Yeah, it's there's a reason why we haven't seen that since like the 90s.
Mhm.
But, for a kids movie, if I was a kid, I might find that pretty funny.
Mhm.
He definitely tried. You can't like say that he didn't try. It's
Mhm.
just not funny to me.
Oh, could I ask you one favor? This might sound very strange.
Sure.
I have a 5-second intro to movie segments that I do on the show, but it has like no music or anything. And I've been thinking, people keep asking me like, when are you going to put a theme song to it? Are you looking at the screen, or are you looking at the stream?
Yes.
Yes. If I played it before you, could you say, sing, or do anything? It doesn't matter if it's just complete nonsense, and that could be the intro to the movie segment.
Oh, so like you to make an intro for your movie thing,
Mm-hmm.
I would sing a jingle.
Yes, but I would give you carte blanche. You could just make fun of me if you wanted. Like, you're an
Okay.
idiot. Why did you put me on the spot? And that would count as it.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to watch it once
Okay.
first, or just go in head first?
Oh yeah, there's a visual. Let me watch that. I
Okay,
guess.
here we go. And that's pretty much it.
Surfs at the cinema. Okay. Okay, sure.
All right. Do you want me to hit it, or do like a 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, hit it. Remember, there's a bit of a delay though.
Okay. 3.
Boop 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 boop. I'm the Surfs. Actually, I'm not. I'm doing this intro for the Surfs because the Surfs wanted me to do this intro to talk about movies. Movies. You like movies. We like movies. Everybody loves movies. Well, some people don't, but they suck. Surfs at the cinema.
Thank you. Oh, nailed it. Oh
Right,
yeah, Chad is completely right.
All right.
Thank you so much, Adam. This was fucking awesome. It was like an absolute pleasure to finally speak
Thanks
to
for
you.
having me on.
Do you want to do all your plugs quickly?
Thank you. Yeah, film review channel. Search YMS. It'll be the first thing that pops up. Full name is yourmoviesucks.org. I got a gaming channel. It's called Adam Plays. It's spelled ADUMPLAZ or ZE. Music and Unkindness, AN space UNKINDNESS. Album coming out this year. All of the material that's out right now is old demo material back from like 2010. So don't expect the same level of quality with my album. It's obviously going to be much better and recorded at a professional studio. Blondie covered one of my songs. Podcast, Sardonicast, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, etc.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Adam. That was a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, cheers.
No problem. Thanks.
Oh man, that was awesome. That was so much fun. They say don't meet your heroes. They're wrong. They're dead wrong. Every single one of them. Anyone who says that is a coward and a liar. I'll take that to the grave.